This is episode 60 with Anthony Aguiniga.
Welcome to Men of Abundance, the podcast for those looking to level up their lives by hanging out with some of the greatest leaders and established professionals in our community, living a life of integrity, honor, and the abundance mentality. Prepare to pay it forward with your host, former Army medic turned lifestyle entrepreneur, Wally Carmichael.
What is going on, all of you amazing, abundant leaders out there? Can you believe we are on episode 60? Episode 60. Unbelievable. I can't believe it myself. I'm pretty excited about that. Every time I meet a milestone, I don't know if it's a milestone or not, but I just can't believe I'm 60 episodes in. And I am just having the time of my life, having all of these conversations with so many abundant leaders around the world, recording those conversations and then sharing them with you. Just about every day now, somehow, some way, I'm getting feedback about the show and about the website. People are absolutely loving my website, especially fellow podcasters. They've been contacting me and telling me what they think about my website. I've actually been told a couple of times that it is the best podcast website that they have personally seen. And they want to know, how did I get started? Who built my website? Did I do it, or did I pay somebody to do it for me? Look, I would love to take credit for having those type of skills. The fact of the matter is I did have some say in the design, but my website is built by podcast websites. That's where it's hosted. All of the bells and whistles are provided by podcast websites. The podcast player, the timestamps in the show notes, the little Twitter feeds that you can click on, all of the amazing artwork, and you don't even see all of the behind the scenes stuff that's going on that makes my website rank very high and ensures that my website has an excellent bounce rate. I've never had a website with such a great bounce rate. A lot of that has to do with the podcast player and the fact that my Facebook Live videos automatically post to my blog. If you haven't seen my blog yet, you have to go check it out. I have some amazing messages over there, and most of them are done through video along with the written content, so you can read through it, which is usually a little bit more in depth than what the video is. So go check that out at menofabundance.com/blog. Now, after connecting with a few of you, I know that many of you want to get in on the conversation, and you can do that on any one of the episodes. I share these episodes on our private Facebook group. And you can find the link to that group in any one of the show notes. Just go to menofabundance.com to the podcast, click on any one of the episodes, scroll down to where it says get in on the conversation, or we want to hear what you have to say. Click on that link. It'll take you directly to the private Facebook group. If you don't already have access, go ahead and request access from that page. I do give most men access, but I will check you out. If you look like somebody who is spamming, or if I just don't think that you're on the up and up, then I'm not going to give you access to that page. The other way to find the group is just go on Facebook and search Men of Abundance Community, and you can get request access there as well. Now, there is a Men of Abundance Society, and that one is exclusive and a paid group only. So if you're interested in that, hit me up directly, and we'll talk about getting you access to that group as well. All right, let's talk a little bit about Tony and bring him out. Now, Tony gets much more into his story, but I'm just going to give you a brief overview of who Tony is so that you understand what we're getting ready to have a conversation about. Tony is the founder and chief operating officer of Woobies, LLC. This is a really cool company, and I just resonate with this company so well for so many reasons, and we have that conversation here in just a minute. Tony was joined the U.S. Army in 2001 and was honorably discharged in 2012 as a Special Forces Green Beret. More specifically, Tony was an 18 Echo. He talks about that, which is a communication specialist that works on a Special Forces team. In our conversation today, Tony's going to share with you his kick in the gut moment that helped him make a very, very tough decision, and in my mind, a very honorable decision. So I'll let him tell you that story. Tony, welcome to Men of Abundance.
Thank you, sir, for having me.
It's my pleasure, man. After I saw what you guys are doing over there and read a little bit more about you, I always kind of vet some of the folks that I bring onto the show to make sure that they're really the type of people that I'd want to sit down and have dinner with my family. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
I'm very humbled.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, absolutely. So once I got through that, I was like, heck yeah, I got to get this guy on the show. We got so much going on. So where are you at in the world right now?
I am located north of Dallas, Texas.
I like Texas. I've spent quite a bit of time in Texas.
Yeah, it's growing on me. It's not a bad state.
Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from California, kind of up and down the coast there.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, it definitely is. More ways than one.
Indeed. Yeah, I mean, both states actually have so much diversity as you get through both of the states. There's so much different terrain and really different people for that matter.
Absolutely.
No, I kind of like that.
It's definitely it's a drive too, for sure, getting from Dallas to Los Angeles, and you could definitely go through a lot of different types of topography, and there's some good sights on the way.
That's a fact. You know, I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona, and up until I joined the military, I hadn't been out. I think the furthest I'd been was to California. I'd never gone the other way, but since then, I've lived in El Paso, San Antonio, and Killeen. And at one point, I drove from El Paso. Well, heck, I drove from San Antonio all the way down to San Diego. We took a vacation and stopped off along the way. But there is a lot of straight roads. I do miss that.
Yeah.
We don't have that out here in Hawaii.
No, Hawaii. That's what part of Hawaii?
I'm on the island of Oahu.
Nice. You enjoy it?
I do. Absolutely love it. I've been here 6 years this stint, but I was here 3 years before. Then went to Texas and lived in Killeen for 3 years, and then had an opportunity to come back, and I just retired out here 2 years ago.
Oh, good stuff. Good for you.
Yeah. So I like to start out the show, Tony, basically to start out the way I start pretty much every single morning, which is with an attitude of gratitude. What do you have to be grateful for today?
I have to be grateful for today is the opportunity to live in this country. I know that that's something that we couldn't really pick, and to be growing up and running a business and having a family in the best nation in the world, that's one of the main things, in health, and I'm thankful for my daughter.
Yeah, so you're a single dad now.
That's correct.
Been and a businessman.
Wow. Yeah, just trying to make it work. Just a squirrel trying to get a nut.
I hear you, absolutely. And you got a lot of stuff going on. We're going to get into that. Matter of fact, that's what we're going to do right now. So before I started the show, I talked a little bit about you and a little bit about what we talked about here today, but I'd like for you to get into your intro and get a little bit personal.
Okay. Yeah, so like we talked about, I'm originally from California, born and raised. And I went out to the East Coast, went polar opposite, to live with some family and go to college there for about a year, and then I had this need to join the military basically my whole life. I didn't really plan for it, which I kind of wish I did at the time, but I didn't, and I went in 2001, and about a couple of years in, I went to Special Forces selection, didn't make it, retrained about a year, went back, got selected, become an 18 Echo, graduated the course in around 2005, and went to 7th Group at Fort Bragg when it was still there. Did some deployments within my whole career. Got out, moved to Texas, became a firefighter for Dallas, went through the academy, EMT school, went through paramedic school. After that, I did some more government contracting. I got to work with some law enforcement agencies. And then I became a Series 22 and 63 broker, sold securities, oil specifically. And basically from there, it's when I pulled the trigger on starting this business, Woobies Shoes, first veteran-owned shoe company. And we partner up with two great organizations, the Green Beret Foundation, the Boot Campaign, to give back. And that's what we do full-time now, and just trying to make a difference and learn as we go.
Yeah, and I saw the promo video for those shoes, man, and that is pretty amazing stuff. But before we get into that, you blew my mind, brother. You went through selection twice. When I went through selection 1992, and we had a couple guys who were second-timers, and one guy was a third-timer. And he finally got selected on that third go round. I got selected the first time around. I don't know how you guys come back for that pain a second time consciously.
Yeah, that was one of the obstacles in my life, one of the defining moments of learning about who I am and what I'm about. And I had my heart and my mind set on it, and I knew that I was going to either die trying. And so when I didn't make it the first time, I went back to my unit, pretty much head down, and trying to explain myself what happened to people who've never ventured off to it before. And I knew that I was going to retrain and go back and knock it out the second time, and that's what I did. And yes, it was not enjoyable, that's for sure. I put my body through more than I expected. But once I got into the Q course, it was smooth failing, or look at that, failing.
Yeah,
it was smooth, it was smooth sailing, first time go on everything, and thank God I never got injured or in trouble, and became a team member.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, going through the second time, I can certainly imagine that a lot of the unknowns were there. At least you knew what you were getting into. You knew what was coming pretty much, and it was pretty unique. In our team, all 12 of us got selected, and all 12 of us made it through. It was very rare, very, very rare. And in fact, I broke my fourth metatarsal in my foot on the final road march about a third of the way in, and then spent the rest of afterwards I was healing and stuff like that. But you ultimately made it further than I did, bro, because I ended up voluntarily withdrawing when I was towards the end of the Q course for personal reasons, which is basically a fancy way of saying I quit, and make me feel better about myself. But it ultimately worked out for me in the end.
Yeah, it's funny how it all ultimately works out one way or the other, and without certain paths that we go down, we would never have been able to start another journey.
Yeah,
but you're right though. I mean, the feet was one thing that I learned. I already knew it, but it was one of the most important things that you need to take care of in the Q course itself. And I didn't make it the first time just because I just wasn't very educated and very keen on land navigation. When I did that STAR course the first time around, I was basically, pun intended, I was lost.
Right.
And I didn't know really what was going on. I knew that I needed to train harder and more and understand what a map is all about and what land navigation really means. It's not just pointing a compass out and walking.
Right. And for the listeners, just so you understand, the STAR course, the reason why it's called a STAR course is because you go from one end of the land out there and to the other. It's not like you can take a land navigation course and you can go get all of your plots and all of your locations like in the most strategic and the straightest line possible. You literally got to walk from one end to the other, meet up with an actual individual that's there waiting at that point. He's going to check off on your sheet. He's going to give you your next route. And that's the way I went through anyway.
Yeah.
And then you got to sit there and plot your next route, and it's clear across the other side. So it's, goodness, I don't even remember how long it took to get across there.
Oh, it's definitely, I mean, and also on what season you're in.
Right.
You got a lot of low topography, a lot of draws, a lot of swamp water. And you just got to be very, very smart at what you're doing. You got to learn how to plan on your own and stress uncomfortable natural stressors, which is, the weather and your feet and everything else going on, and you're timed. No light, can't use flashlights, and you just go. It's a good test for to pick the person that they're looking for.
It is. And if you come out of there without scratches on your face, something was wrong.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
How do they say it? High ground good, low ground bad?
Oh yeah, and they make sure that you get that low ground.
You do, you certainly do, brother. We could sit and talk about this all day, man. It's taking me back, but I want to move on. So speaking of all of that and everything that you've done thus far, and I know that was a kick in the gut moment when. So were you? Did you get injured, or were you a non-select the first time?
Well, when I went through the first time, if you didn't pass, the STAR course was the second to the last event that or gate, if you will, that you had to pass. And if you didn't get your points, then you were done. So you get shipped you get back on a deuce and a half, and then you go back to camp, and then you just out process and go back to your duty station.
Got it. Yeah. So I know that was a kick in the gut moment, but I would like for you to share one of your biggest kick in the gut moments in your life. Basically as you're going through your journey.
Well, business is one thing, but family first is my number one. One of my ethics in life, and my daughter, is being a single parent, and she's most important. And the reason why I do everything is for her. And one of the kick in the, and I know a lot of not just civilians but military personnel could relate to this, is I had an issue with a custody situation, which kind of derailed me on my forward progression, and I had to stop for a while. When I say a while, I mean calendar years, to address the situation. It was a time of gut checking, fixing, what I had to, what I've been, changing a little bit of way I do things, a lot of sacrifice. And I basically had my kid taken away from me for a custody battle, which can get very ugly just to get what you want in the court. And Texas is not a 4-man state. That's just the way it is. So there was a time in 2014 where I didn't see my kid for a period of time, and I had to fight tooth and nail to get her to even see her again. And that was a kick in the gut, because it made me reset myself. It made me think about where I came from and where I'm going, and what was more important in my life. And that has derailed so many individuals that I know personally. And I had two choices: either to quit and feel sorry for myself, or get kicked in the gut and keep moving. And it wasn't seamless, but that's what I kept doing. And if it wasn't for something like that, trying to take a negative into a positive, it helped me self-actualize into more ventures and thinking processes that got me to where I am today.
So what was the basically enough is enough moment? What was the pivot point that really, obviously I would think that, your experiences up to that point would help you be very resilient in what was going on, but that's a whole different level, man. And I can definitely relate to that, not on a personal level, but just through my career, working with men and women who have had similar situations go on in their lives, and just having the empathy and seeing the pain is just unbearable, completely unbearable. I can't even imagine that. But what was the turning point on that?
Well, what you said is spot on, and to go back a little bit, if it does answer your question, if not, then I can elaborate. But I literally left a successful career in the Army Special Forces after about 12 years, and I only had about 8 more years to graduate, and I literally picked up everything, packed my bags, and resigned from my job to reinvent myself, to come geographically to be around my daughter, which I promised that I would be the minute she was born. So when she was going to be moving to Dallas area, I looked at the first thing that was hiring that was kind of like similar but not similar, serving my community and my state, my country, but the people around me. And that's when I became a candidate in the fire academy. And it was one heck of a change. It was a humble experience. It was a frustrating experience. It was a scary experience. And I had no idea what I was really going to be doing. And I knew I was going to be taking a huge pay cut, living from a house to an apartment, taking everything out of my life except for going to the 50-meter target, which was just graduating at the time. So that was a turning point for me, because if I wouldn't have done that and made that decision, there's nothing wrong with men who stick with the career. I know a lot of great men who are still in special forces or in the military who have kids in other states, and there's nothing wrong with that, because I can't judge what their situation is. But at least for me, I knew that I was resilient enough to figure it out, and not knowing a lot of times what was going to happen the next day. And obviously I don't do that anymore. So I have taken a lot of steps out into waters that I had no idea what was going to be like. So that's one example right there. And I ended up ultimately leaving that department as well. But I always knew that every time I went to bed that I was going to try to do something that was going to benefit me for later, and my, keeping food in my refrigerator, and making sure that my daughter knew, no matter what, that her dad stuck to it, like said he does what he says he's going to do, and he'll never leave. And that to me was huge. That just growing up as a kid, not being around my real father my whole life, I didn't want it to do I didn't want to repeat that if I ever had a child. So that was kind of one of some of the root behind that.
Tony, I really admire that. That is a huge part of my decision of actually voluntarily withdrawing from the Q course. When I got started, even though I was in 3rd Special Operations Support Command already, we were supporting 7th and 3rd. I was stationed in Panama at the time, and we were in support of 7th and 3rd Group. So I was around Special Ops guys, for quite a while. But I was just young, and as I got through it, and then we had a son along the way, and things just, for me, I just saw the lifestyle, and I was like, you know what, this is really not conducive with what I want as far as a family is concerned. If I was single, it would have been great. Then, like I told you before we started recording on the show, when I voluntarily withdrew, since I was at Fort Bragg, I ended up over at the 82nd Airborne Division, and then, was deployed to Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Egypt, Sinai. I mean, I was gone all the time. And then ended up in Germany, again, deployed all over the place. But it was it was indeed a different environment, and ultimately a good decision, I feel, that I made for my family. And you can never make the wrong decision, in my mind, when you know that you're doing it for the better of your family, especially for your kids. So I definitely commend that.
No, I appreciate it, and likewise. It's just one lesson that I've learned in life, and although the right decision is not always the best or the easiest decision in anything that we do in life, and that is something that really humbled me, and it really reset me, and it brought me into the lowest level possible, mentally, spiritually, whatever, however you want to label it. But at the same time, it gives you more building blocks, gives you more tools, and you get to do things that you never would have done, like derailing yourself basically. And you got to take those negatives and turn them into positives, always possible. Absolutely.
It's a great mentality to live by, and I know much of what you had already gone through at that point had helped you make that decision, because you just have to be able to make those decisions on the spot, and it definitely wasn't an easy decision for me. But so let's transition a little bit. How did you end up going from everything that you were doing to, you're talking about making decisions completely different and out of the box, and what you're doing with Woobies. I would love to hear that story and how that got started.
Yeah, so the short version, because we could talk obviously forever, is I've always had a business mindset, and that's a lot of guys in my past career field are businessmen, salesmen, if you will, and just in a different platform. And I've always had an appreciation for new things, being a pioneering things, and I've always respected shoes. Growing up, we didn't have a lot of money, and every time I got a new pair of shoes, I did everything that I possibly could to keep them in the best condition possible. They were very important to me. But at the same time, being in the Army and then being a Special Forces guy, we were going back on our previous conversation on our feet and how important they are to you and how comfortable they need to be to last you, through whatever application you're doing. So in the veteran community, I'm friends with a lot of veteranpreneurs, if you will, and they do really good. They have a lot of success because of their background and the understanding of structure, chain of command, and work ethic. And I realized that there was a need out there, or an untapped source of veteran-made veteran-owned, design-made shoes. And one of my business partner, Matt Murick, who's a brilliant business guy, he's been in business his whole life as well, who went to the Q course also. We worked in 2015 on back in California on a job, and we spent a lot of time together. You know how it is when you get a bunch of veterans together, or just people, when you're sitting around on a job and you're got a lot of free time, and even if you're working rigorously, you're talking about stuff and what you want to do and what you have done. And I said, hey, what about a veteran shoe company? Wouldn't that be awesome? I really want to do this. And right away, him and I were talking like we already were partners. And that very night, we went to, it's funny, but we did go to an Applebee's, and we sat at the bar, and we broke bread, and we asked the bartender, hey, can we get a napkin, please, and a pen? And we sat down, we wrote down our business structure, our values, and we came up with the name Woobies. We wanted a name recognition to the poncho liner, which is kind of a slang from the poncho liner, and called the Woobie. It's a comfortable multi-use blanket that's light in weight, that's warm even when it's dry. It's easy packable, and it's that slang's kind of been around among infantrymen dating back to like the Vietnam era. So once that name came out audibly, we're like, yes, that's the name, Woobies. It's catchy, it's simple, people know it. If they don't know it, we'll tell them about it on our website. And immediately after, when we both flew home, and we talked about nonstop for the rest of the week, but we right away went to work. And actually, my other business partner, Rick Hardwick, the guy that you first came in contact with was my boss at the oil firm. And now he's our vice president of operations, basically, for Woobies. And I got back to work that Monday morning, and I said, hey, I got this idea. I want to start Woobies. Here's what it is. And he's like, man, you got to go do it. And I was like, you're right. I was like, if we're going to do it, then we're going to do it right. And it might not be responsible. I'm a single parent. I don't know where my next paycheck's going to come from, but I'm going to leave. I'm going to talk to you later, and I'm going to start this campaign. And Matt kept his promise. We, legally incorporated the company into an LLC, if that's the right, term. But we made an LLC, and from then on out, we were just grinding every day, all day long. And we got our first prototypes within about I don't know, maybe 2 months at the most. Went to the SHOT Show in January of 2016, passed out about 50 pairs and some shirts, got our name out there, and built our website, and just started cranking it out. And we've learned a lot since then. We've gotten a PhD on shoe design and construction, e-commerce, and it's been a humbling experience. It's been exciting, and we just couldn't be in a better position right now doing this. So we're very pleased, and we can't wait to help out more people, because that's one of our biggest, like I said before, it's one of our biggest values is family first and helping out other veterans.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I really love about the company in general. And when I saw the name Woobies, of course, I knew exactly what it was. And the shoes look extremely comfortable, like Woobies for your feet. And for those who are listening, Tony did describe where the Woobie comes from, and that's this poncho liner. It's probably, most infantry anyway, we will refer to it as the most valuable piece of military equipment you'll ever own. That and the smoking jacket, which was the field jacket liner, which I don't even know if it even exists anymore. But that thing is amazing, because you can take and stuff it all into one sleeve and make a pillow out of it. Then you got your Woobie. And some people used to even, back at Bragg, they used to even sew zippers into the Woobie and make a little sleeping bag out of it.
Oh, yeah. I'm staring at 3 Woobies right now. They're always in my living room. They're in my room. They're a big part of our lives, and our shoes. We couldn't ask for a better name, and we've made our shoes the best to our ability to make them as comfortable as possible, and learning from what we did last to do it better, more every day with each design. And that's it. I mean, comfort for your feet, comfort for any action, for all applications.
Yeah, so let's get into that. I saw the promo video, and I will have that linked at menofabundance.com on the show notes. But one of the things, recently, about 3 weeks ago now, I've started kayaking part of the way to work because of where I live geographically on the
nice.
island of Oahu. I live on Pearl Harbor, literally on the harbor. So I bike over to the Navy station, then I kayak about a 10-minute kayak ride across the Pearl Harbor over to Hickam Air Force Base, and then drive into work from there. It cuts about 15 miles off of my commute driving.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But the reason why I bring that up is because I saw that the shoes are guys running through the water, even kayakers, as a matter of fact, in the water, and then mountain climbing with them and doing all kinds of stuff. So I don't normally get into products and stuff like that on the show, but the shoe just truly is something that I really haven't seen before as far as how
Thank
versatile it is.
No, I really appreciate that, and that was by no mistake. We spent lots of hours and phone calls and emails and drawings on this shoe. And in our first shoe to the world, we had to make sure that it was good. And I like to use the word for all applications possible. Now, but style-wise, we love Vans and Converse, and so we wanted to make a Vans and Converse style so anybody can wear them. You don't have to be a Green Beret to wear them. They can be walking your dog or going to school or doing undercover work or an obstacle course, but even like the topography on the outsole on the bottom of the tread is basically, it's like a Ferrari tire. It's not a monster truck tire. That is because, for one, you don't have anything sticking inside of them like twigs, sticks, stones. Also, you have more ergonomics to ground to feet. You have a more intimate feel to the ground that you walk on, whether it's around a log, whether it's on a bike. If it's doing anything, you want to be like it's wearing a moccasin, kind of like the Woobie, how comfortable it is. Mm-hmm. So that's why we designed them the way they are, with the canvas being tightly woven, kind of like a sail in a sailboat, with the deliberate drain holes. So if you do water operations, because we have special forces guys wearing them with dive fins. Just for anything that you can think of in style, we tried our best to put our first line of shoes out there for that.
Yeah, really cool. Absolutely love it. So how much experience did you have? I mean, it didn't sound like you had any experience in business, in starting a business, and any of your partners have experience in business, let alone in the shoe industry.
Yeah, so, like I was saying, being in the Army and then being in Special Forces, you are a businessman. You handle funds, you understand budgets, you learn a lot of clerical and admin tools, getting what you need, inventory, quality control, and then even sales and marketing when you're out with indigenous forces or you're trying to get something done for your unit. You're selling a concept or a mission. So a lot of that really carried on through, and then obviously work ethic and chain of command and roles and responsibilities. And to be quite honest, like you said, when it came to making shoes, constructing shoes, manufacturing shoes, designing, we had no idea what we were doing. We just took it as we went and learned as we went and learned as we went. And from just a little over a year ago, I have learned so much stuff about a shoe. I can dissect the shoe for you. I know what an upper, outsole, midsole, insole is, all that stuff, what needs to happen, what doesn't need to happen. And quite frankly, our first launch, on our first big shipment of shoes, it was kind of like a soft launch on our customers giving us feedback. Although we've been wearing them for months and wearing them out before anybody else did, but it's still other people telling you what they thought, and we've been very receptive to that. We're really big on customer service. We use social media platforms as the best of our ability because it's free. You can touch somebody in an instant. It's a big advantage that we have as entrepreneurs nowadays. And we take pride on responding back immediately and being responsive to people's needs and wants and concerns. And this Generation 2 that we just launched on Monday had 4 major improvements. The shoe still looks the same, it still feels the same, but it's better. And we're going to continue to thrive off that and always know that we're going to put out a great product.
Yeah, that's extremely important without a doubt for any business whatsoever, whether it's whether you've got traditional products, physical products, or service for a SaaS product or whatever, or even providing some sort of a service for somebody. But you've mentioned quite a bit that you're a veteran shoe business. What do you do specifically for veterans?
What we do is these shoes are Special Forces designed and owned and operated, veteran operated. But like going back, the 2 main values that we had was family first and taking care of our veterans, and now we're branching out to law enforcement. But so Matt and I, being the 2 founders, we picked each a charity that we wanted to donate to. We made it a for-profit company to make the choice to donate. So he picked the Boot campaign, which is a great campaign that helps out veterans, and then I picked the Green Beret Foundation. So since our beginning, we have donated $1 per unit whether it's a shirt or a shoe, and it's set aside for those two organizations. And we've already been cutting checks to them, and we still set aside our funds to them, and we keep that promise, and we hope to one day expand deeper into that and to really personally help veterans and families in need. And especially with we're big, I have a little bit of law enforcement background. We have a lot of law enforcement customers and followers and supporters, and we really stand by the boys in blue and girls in blue, and we want to help them out as well. I mean, through my endeavors, through my struggles, I have had help, and I'm okay to say that. We have to insulate each other, not isolate each other. And I've had somebody pay my rent 1 month or an electricity bill, and that meant the world to me through the hard times. It gave me a little bit of time to figure out what I need to do to move to the next objective. So I know how important that was to me and to my kid, and I want to do that for other people. And there's nothing better in life to me personally than the giving back.
There are a lot of for-purpose businesses that are coming up, and I even though you're for-profit, I also refer to your type of business as a for-purpose business, because what you're doing for veterans and for families is written into your values and written into your, basically written into your business plan, and that makes you a for-purpose business. Like, have you ever had a chance to read the book by Yannick Silver called Evolved Enterprise?
No, but I believe I have heard of it in conversation before.
Yeah,
it's got to be on my list.
It's definitely got to be on your list. In fact, your business could be written into that book, because that book brings up many businesses that are doing basically exactly what you're doing. They were built on the premise of a purpose, not just a profit.
And one way I explain it to people is they ask, I said, one of the beautiful things you can do if you have enough talent and drive and opportunity and a little bit of luck, but you can create a platform or a product that has enough demand to generate a following and funding to give back. So you're basically taking something out of nothing to generate something to help people. Exactly. So it's like going to the store and getting your ingredients for a meal and feeding people. I kind of look at it like that. And then with a lot of the proceeds, you got to buy more ingredients to help more people. So that's kind of a way to look at it with us.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and it's just a great way to wake up in the morning.
Absolutely, and the feedback that we're getting from people that are strangers who are customers, they say, for life, and it's been nothing but positive, and it's really a humbling experience. And like you said, waking up knowing that you're doing something positive and for the good, and you're policing up people that need help, that might not have the opportunity or the situation to be able to do what we're doing, and we're also very lucky and blessed to be the only ones doing the shoes right now. I say it all the time to my partners. We're not going to be surprised if there's another veteran company who wants to make shoes when they see what we're doing. Maybe they've had the idea before us, but they just didn't do it. But hey, that's great. I mean, to be a pioneer in something is very. It's a very good feeling.
And, to be copied is the highest form of flattery,
Absolutely.
So you're obviously paying it forward quite a bit, but we're going to pay it forward right here to Men of Abundance. Are you ready for that?
Absolutely.
Cool. So give Men of Abundance 1 to 3 actionable steps that they can take today. And this can be either in their personal life, or a couple of the guys, some of the guys out there do want to start their own business and get to, basically like where you're at, but whatever you feel fit.
Yeah, well, one thing that sticks out at first is that I believe, and my partners believe in, is that go to bed knowing that you did something to get you where you want, to walk forward, to forward progress yourself, whether that's personal or business, on a business stance. So whether that's a phone call, an email, a new development, an invention, a deal or close, make sure you go to bed knowing, like, let's say it's a business. Go to bed knowing that you helped your business out today. That's one big thing that's so simple that people would start doing. They would know that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So that's one big thing that I believe in. The other thing is being humbled by the world and knowing that, to me, a man of abundance or a woman of a lady of abundance is being humble to the fact that knowing that you are one of millions out there, that it could be over in any minute. So make those thank yous and I love yous and those kisses and compliments or whatever it is it makes it sweeter, knowing that it could be taken away from you in any moment, and it could be the end for you, whether it's death or it's something catastrophic. So that knowing that something's more powerful that can stop you at any time will bring more light to your situation and make everything sweeter. And then just never giving up, because you're always going to have these obstacles, and that's so vague, but people say it all the time, but it's true. And when you got to take that negativity and put it into a positive. And there's always going to be a positive, like another side of a coin on anything that happens that's bad. And we just had that happen to us on Monday when we did our Phase 2 launch, or Generation 2 launch. It was catastrophic, but it was good at the same time.
All great points. Thanks for sharing that. I completely agree with that. What daily habits make up the biggest impact in your life?
Daily habits, like routine is a big thing. We're creatures of routine. Positive routines, waking up at a decent time, even though if you don't have anything to do. And trust me, I have not done this my whole life. And there was times when I was depressed that I when you're depressed, one of the things that you do is you sleep and you mope around a lot, feeling sorry for yourself. And that's a fact. That's a physiological thing and mental thing. But get up at a really decent time, watch the morning rise, get out and exercise, get that cardio in. If you're injured like I am or whatever, try to find something that gets that blood moving, because it naturally helps your serotonin level. It gets your kick started, your emotion. It helps you think more clear. Try to eat right. Try to get plenty of sleep, and tell people that are important to you how important they are to you. Try to be as positive as possible and learn from your mistakes. And like in the Army, after action reviews, right? Mm-hmm. Take the good things and the bad things and learn from them and drive on. And it could be over at any time, like I said, not in a bad way, but just try to be positive and try to influence and impact positively as much as you can in people's lives, because it'll come back around.
Yeah, it definitely makes a huge difference for sure. So what book, podcast, or course would you recommend to our abundant leaders, and why?
Wow. You can't a lot of people, a lot of my friends that are very successful, they say, try to read a book a week. That's obviously kind of hard sometimes, very difficult sometimes. Even these audio books are really good. Zig Ziglar makes a couple good books when it comes to selling. I would definitely go off to try to, whatever industry that you're in, I would try to do some research and just start reading what you can on that industry. So if it's business, marketing, selling, closing. I'm actually reading a book. It has nothing to do with business, but it's called House of Leaves. And it's really psychologically thrilling, and it makes you think of other ways of the world that somebody else wrote. That's one that I would recommend, just because it kind of knocks you off your rocker and it makes you think twice about other things that you've never thought of before. There's another one that seems kind of malicious, but it's not. But it was one of my mandatory reads. It's called Social Engineering: The Art of Human Hacking by Scott Hagnerty, a British writer. And it talks a lot about corporate espionage, how to get access and placement into certain organizations. He used it a lot for research when he was working for a lot of the SAS guys out there in the UK. And that one right there, if you want a good tool on just life, and you're not hacking people, but you're learning how to create an environment, manipulate your environment in a way to get what you want on a positive way, not like a con artist way.
I'll definitely take a look at those books. I've heard of social engineering, so I'll look that one up, but I'll have those books listed in the show notes at menofabundance.com. And you're right, it's not easy to read as often. There's a lot of thoughts on this as far as how many books to read a week, a year, or whatever. I personally say I've read hundreds and hundreds of books. Depending on what you're trying to do by reading, is find a book that you can resonate with and study that book. But regardless, some of us don't have time to read, like myself. So I listen to, you mentioned audiobooks. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. And Men of Abundance, I've partnered with Audible, and they have over 180 titles for you to choose from. And since I've partnered with them, and since you're a listener, you can get a 30-day free trial. And when you sign up for that free trial, you get one free book. And if either of those books are at Audible, I'll have those listed in the show notes as well. But you can get to my link and help out Men of Abundance, help us keep the mic on, by going to moa-book.com, or just go to menofabundance.com, and on the podcast page or the blog page, you'll be able to see the Audible logo up there. Just click on that. Do us a favor, help us keep the mic on. If you plan on getting that free 30-day trial, use our link so you can help out Men of Abundance, and all that's doing is helping us keep the mic on. All right, I appreciate that. So I have one last question for you, Tony, and that is, what does living a life of abundance mean to you?
Living a life of abundance, what that means to me is kind of like what I was saying before, is a lifestyle and a conscious decision to improve yourself and to be out there in the world, trying to make something positive for yourself, your family, and the people around you. Being selfless is a man of abundance to me. So selfless is a value in the Army, selfless service, and I take that try to take that a step further, through my business and my endeavors. So being a man of abundance is understanding that to use your talents, if you will, and if you have the time and the want to help people, and to understand that, like I said before, it could be over at any time, and try to make everything sweeter and more with love if you can. And we all do make mistakes. I've made many mistakes, and I've made many people angry and I do my best to improve on that and try to learn from that and not do it again. So being a man of abundance is to constantly improve and try to be a better person. Excellent.
Absolutely love that answer. So we're going to close this up, but before we do, it's real important to me that you leave us a way that we can get a pair of those shoes on our feet, and anything else that you have coming up, and any way that we can reach you.
Yes, sir. So our website that you can see what we're about is www.woobiesweb, one word, Woobie, W-O-O-B as in Bravo, I-E-S, web. And that's where you can order, take a look at our site, see what we're about. We're on Facebook as Woobies Shoes, Instagram, Woobies Web. And through those platforms, you can get a hold of myself, Rick, Matt, even Tim Kennedy, which is another Green Beret UFC fighter. And he has a shows Hunting Hitler. And he does a whole bunch. He's a busy man, but he's one of our partners. We're all reachable. He's a little bit more busy with all his different things going on, but please get a hold of us. Any comments, questions, concerns, ideas. If there's any way you can help, you think you can, if you need help out there, if you're feeling down, please hit me up. Please give me a call. I will be happy to take time in my day.
Hey man, I appreciate you throwing that reach out there, because there's a lot of guys out here, and that's what we're doing over here at Men of Abundance, is building a community of men who can rely on each other, and we all have those times of need, and we just want to hang around with guys that we freaking can deal with, that we can relate
Absolutely.
To, and real guys that are going to speak the truth. That's what we're looking for. That's what men need in our lives. So I appreciate you throwing that out there. And men, I'm going to have all of those links that Tony just mentioned in the show notes at menofabundance.com, and just go there and you'll be able to click right on that, because I know many of you are driving, working out, running, or doing whatever it is you do when you listen to this amazing podcast. And
Absolutely.
I appreciate you listening, man. And Tony, I appreciate your time. You're a busy man, and give your daughter a big old hug for me, all the way from Hawaii.
Yeah, thank you. You do the same, and thank you so much for this opportunity, and I hope everybody's having a great day. And my hand's always out there if you need something. So please give us a holler, and we can't wait for you guys to try these shoes on and put them out there in the world.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be. Matter of fact, when I get mine, I'm going to post them. Awesome. Everywhere I go.
Awesome.
All right, man. Appreciate it. All right, take care, Tony.
All right, you too. Have a good night.
All right, Abundant Leaders, I hope you got something out of that conversation. What I got out of it was, sometimes as men, we have to make those tough decisions and those selfless decisions. As Tony said, selfless service is paramount in the military, and it should be in your life as well. Many times we do, in fact, make decisions to benefit ourselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at times we have to make the decision that is going to impact others. And you have to make the decision on, are you going to positively or negatively impact others? That's not an easy decision, and it's not always easy to make. However, when you have the right people in your life, and you have mentors like Tony and many of the other guys that I've had a conversation to talk to, and some of my mentors and close friends, then you have somebody to talk to. You have somebody to bounce those ideas off of and to help you ultimately make the decision. But make no mistake about it, ultimately is your decision. All right, man, be abundant in your life today by sharing this with others. Now go out and live your life of abundance and make sure to pay it forward.
That's all for today, Abundance Leaders. For more about our guests and the powerful information we shared with you today, be sure to sign up for our mailing list at menofabundance.com. We appreciate your time and look forward to hanging out with you on our next episode. So until then, be sure to pay it forward and live your life of abundance.